This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Spring is here and the shopping list is long. Time to make a Lowe's run. Buy 3 bags, get 3 free of Stay Green 1 cubic foot garden soil. Plus, right now members can earn 4 times the points on an eligible purchase. Start spring off strong with these deals and more. Our best lineup is here at Lowe's. Valid through 3/25 while supplies last. Soil offer excludes Alaska and Hawaii. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. See Lowe's.com/terms for details. Subject to change. Point boosters subject to exclusions and more terms apply. One time only offer.
Predator Badlands, now streaming on Hulu and Hulu on Disney+.
Here, you're not the predator. You're the prey. 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 Prey.
Critics are saying it's epic, stunning, and breathtaking.
Many have come here. None have survived.
Predator Badlands, now streaming on Hulu and Hulu on Disney+, rated PG-13.
As a chef, I know flavor doesn't begin in the kitchen. It begins on the land. And Westhome's nature-led Australian Wagyu is a story written in the landscape of Northern Australia. Cooking is storytelling, and Westhome Wagyu carries a story of Northern Australia itself. Raw, powerful, and deeply authentic. It's a testament to the passion and care raised in the rhythm of Northern Australia. I'm Chef Maylin from 88 Club in Los Angeles, and I invite you to visit westhome.com/Maylin to learn more and taste a story only Westhome nature-led Australian Wagyu can tell. That's WESTHOLME.com/MEILIN.
AI is incredible. It can teach you how to fry an egg and even write a poem, pirate style. Yarr! But it knows nothing about your work. Slackbot is different. It doesn't just know the facts. It knows your schedule. It can turn a brainstorm into a brief. And it doesn't need to be taught. Because Slackbot isn't just another AI. It's AI that knows your work as well as you do. Visit slack.com/meet Slackbot to learn more.
Welcome to the HCI family of podcasts. We're your source for personal, professional, and organizational growth and development. We share our own original research, explore industry trends, and interview executives and thought leaders from across the globe. Join us for practitioner-oriented content around all things leadership, HR, talent management, organizational development, and change management. Maximize your personal and organizational potential with the HCI family of podcasts.
My dad taught me a lot, including how easy it is to forget to cancel things. So I downloaded Experian, my BFF, big financial friend. Experian could help me cancel my unused subscriptions and lower my bills, saving me hundreds a year. Get started with the Experian app today. Your big financial friends here to help you save smarter. Results will vary. Not all bills or subscriptions eligible. Savings not guaranteed. $631 a year. Average savings with 1+ negotiations and 1+ cancellations. Paid membership with connected payment account required. See Experian.com for details.
Experian.
I get so many headaches every month.
It could be chronic migraine, 15 or more headache days a month, each lasting 4 hours or more.
Botox, onabotulinum toxin A, prevents headaches in adults with chronic migraine. It's not for those who have 14 or fewer headache days a month. Prescription Botox is injected by your doctor. Effects of Botox may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away, as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness can be signs of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Side effects may include allergic reactions, neck and injection site pain, fatigue, and headache. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Don't receive Botox if there's a skin infection. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions, including ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects.
Why wait? Ask your doctor. Visit BotoxChronicMigraine.com or call 1-800-44-BOTOX to learn more.
Roger, Gerard, welcome to the conversation today.
Well, thank you for having me here today.
It is a real pleasure to have you. You're joining us from cold Wisconsin. I'm south of Salt Lake City in cold Utah, and both of us are dealing with winter weather at the moment. But it's good. I like the change in the seasons, and I like the crisp air. I may not be saying that in a couple months from now, but for for the moment, I'm enjoying it. I'm really thrilled. Oh, go ahead.
I'm resolved not to complain about the weather this year. I made a resolution to accept and enjoy. So
There you go. Very good. Well, I'm thrilled to have a chance to chat with you today. We're going to be talking about building highly engaged teams in today's performance-focused environment. Super important topic, and I know people are tuning in, in part just for these kinds of conversations because we want to know how to better run our teams. And so we'll unpack this and explore this together today. As we get started, I wanted to share Roger's bio with everybody. Dr. Roger A. Gerard is the owner of Sloan and Gerard Consulting, a private consulting practice serving executives and boards in strategic planning, operational planning, executive coaching, and management development. He also specializes in process improvement and the use of lean methodologies in bringing about significant and measurable organizational improvement. He's a former chief learning officer at Theta Care and an integrated healthcare delivery system, retiring from that position in 2014 after 23 years in the role. Dr. Gerard has a 52-year career history leading executive and management development initiatives in both large and small organizational environments. And I could go on. I mean, there's so many really cool things about your storied career and background, but I'm going to pause there. Anything you would like to highlight before we dive on in?
the only thing I want to highlight is my affinity for the human spirit in all of the work that I've done over the years.
Yeah.
I cut my teeth as a youngster in a religious seminary background and took that into my role in business. And all of that has had a dramatic effect in how I tend to approach how I work with people.
Yeah. Well, beautiful. And I think it's interesting. I come from a family of like social workers and therapists. And so I'm kind of the weird kind of black sheep in that sense because I went like the business route, but I'm like, it's not really that different. Like the stuff that I do within an organizational context is very similar to what they do, in a family context or a broader social community context. So I think good people leaders, good HR folks need to have some of those skill sets around what social workers do, what therapists do, conflict resolution, all that kind of stuff. And so I don't think I actually fell that far from the tree when it comes to that, though my context is a little bit different.
I absolutely get that. It's about people. It's about community. It's about creating possibility and creating opportunity for not only yourself, but for all the people around you. When you can do those kinds of things with some consistency and a spirit of support, a lot of good things start to happen. But business is about community building. Otherwise, the business can't survive.
Yeah, I have always said, every organization, when it comes to engagement and employee activation, employee experience, satisfaction, all these things that we say are important, what it really comes down to is trust and a genuine sense of inclusion and belonging. People may, there's a lot of political divide right now and divisiveness around DEI, language, and those sorts of things. But regardless of where someone might fall, on the political spectrum, I think everyone wants to be at a place where they're needed, wanted, valued, where they get to contribute in meaningful ways each and every day, and they're treated with dignity and respect. I don't think that's, an extreme kind of notion. I think pretty much every human being wants and desires and needs that. And that's, what our job is as a leader is to create that kind of an environment so people can thrive and people can contribute in meaningful ways, both for themselves and for the team. That's what is, building a high performance team is all about. And yet we tend more often than not to get focused solely in on kind of the outputs, the metrics, that we forget like all of the inputs that are going to help get us to those end metrics. And yeah, so I guess that's really what we're going to be, exploring together as we go
Yeah,
throughout this
let me
conversation.
react to that for a minute,
Sure.
because you said some really profound things, and I want to point at them. On the one hand, we know that there's a difference between expectation and inspiration.
Mm.
When you are building teams, unfortunately, we often lead with expectation
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to inspiration. People don't respond well to expectation, especially when that expectation comes paired with a whole bunch of metrics that those folks never had any input into. So as we think about how we approach things like engagement, employee engagement or satisfaction, building a team, building a community of people, professionals who are trying to do things together, when we start imposing things on these people, we're actually treating them with disrespect. We're treating them in a way that says, I'm in charge, you're not, and this is what we have to do. It is so easy as an executive, as a leader, as a manager to lead with expectation. The temptation is always there because we have our own metrics to deal with.
Yeah.
But when we do that, we're undermining the very connections that we need to create among professionals to inspire and to cause the engagement we want.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. And everyone knows the term micromanagement, and that's bad. Like, I don't think if you talk to any manager, and suggest that micromanagement is a good thing, nobody's going to say, I agree with that. Like, it's commonly understood that at least the proper answer in polite social conversation is to say that's a bad thing. So nobody's gonna say that that is something that they do or want to do. Yet micromanagement still continues to be a persistent problem in every organization and so many teams. Because of the control issue, because people, like you just said, they have their own metrics, they have their own things they're being held accountable for, and inevitably, those pressures that they feel start to get passed down through their people. And if they don't have a sense of trust and security in their team and in themselves, it manifests in micromanagement. It manifests in control seeking, right? They're trying to control a team of people, all with their own expertise and specialties that they bring to the table to help you accomplish stuff. And what they don't realize is that they're actually making it harder for themselves to perform and for their teams to perform because they're tightening the control over everyone that reports to them. And it becomes soul sucking, like it is demoralizing and frustrating when you have specialty expertise and you're not allowed to use it. You don't have the autonomy to exercise it. And it does, whether it's the intention or not of the manager or the leader in this situation, and I think oftentimes it's not their intention, but whether it's the intention or not, the result is when someone is feeling that control over them rather than being empowered and kind of brought up for everyone to work together collectively, they disengage. They will inevitably stop doing their best work. They'll disengage and psychologically withdraw and start to look for other positions, especially your top performers, because they know that they can find great opportunities anywhere, and they don't want to work in that kind of an environment. And so it's this paradox of the metrics and the accountability piece and managers wanting to support their teams, wanting to get the most out of them. And then because they become like helicopter parents, and they actually take away the ability of the individuals to perform at peak level.
You're pointing at the psychology of command and control that seems to be at a very deeply rooted place in American management, maybe beyond American management. I'll tell you a story about a situation in a conference I was leading. I had 15 executives in a 1-week retreat process. And I gave them a challenge midweek to go and see. And what I wanted them to do was to go to their areas of work, their departments, and I wanted them to observe and come back and tell me what they saw. And I gave them an hour to do that. They all returned an hour later to the conference room. And I started taking a poll to see what they saw when they went to their places of work. Literally every one of them, all 15, not only came to tell me what they saw, but the problems they identified and the solutions that they imposed. And I told them they all failed the exercise. I had asked them to go and see and report back. The minute they solved the problems that the daily workers should be solving, they were imposing their own will and destroying the motivation of those very hardworking people. But what you're pointing at in what you just said is exactly that phenomenon. And it's deeply embedded in our management training. When I first learned the training process for leadership and management development through the American Management Association way back in the mid-70s, the framework was plan, organize, and control. Plan, organize, and control. PAC. Plan, organize, control. And what happened was that idea of control really embedded itself in the management mindset. It's very hard to get rid of that today. That's a cultural issue, and it takes time, and it takes a lot of what Morris Massey used to call the significant emotional event. You really need to take the time to really question your own paradigms. The other part of that is we live in a society where it's very difficult to stop and listen.
Yeah.
The most powerful skill that I can teach in a leadership framework, in a leadership environment, is the skill of listening. If you don't listen, you will not know what's going on in your workplace. You must listen, and you must invite people to tell you their truth, whether you want to hear it or not, and reward them for it, even if it's bad news. So, I mean, to me, that's the beginning of shifting gears as a leader and really understanding the inspiration process with people.
Yeah. And at that, I think it comes back to what has been mentioned several times already. And it's trust. It's developing trust. Relationships are built on trust. Teams are built on relationships. Performance is built upon the foundation of relationships, community, and trust. And in command control dynamics, just erode at that foundation, whether it's the intention or not. And I really do believe a lot of times it's kind of like in the seminar you were talking about, you set people out to go observe, and inevitably, they start to see and they notice things, and they have past experience with some of those things, and that they're smart and capable people, and they want to help, and so they start to put in place solutions, like immediately, and it's coming in most cases probably from a really good place, not even from ego per se, but it's just coming from a place of seeing an issue, knowing they have experience with it, having insights, wanting to help. And what they're not realizing is it's kind of like with my spouse. Like when my wife has a problem, she does not want me to give her a solution. She does not want me to listen for a minute and then give her a 10-minute response and provide a solution to her. That is the exact wrong thing to do in that situation. And it's the exact wrong thing to do in your workplace and with your teams as well. You have to like help them be able to express the issues and the concerns, and then learn how to go about addressing them. And they have the experience and the expertise and the line level, direct responsibility that will motivate them to come to good solutions. And you can provide support for that and a structure and a dynamic that will, enable that. But if you're just going in and imposing solutions, regardless of what your intention is, it's going to have negative side effects, unintended consequences. And that erosion of trust is one of those. People just do not feel trusted, and they don't feel valued when they don't feel trusted.
You made a couple of really great points, and you reminded me of how my wife and I met. We were business colleagues. I was on her board of directors in a business coalition, and over time that relationship grew because we gained a trust in one another. I would never consider it a good thing to impose a set of performance metrics on my spouse, and I doubt she would want to do that to me. And we don't do a performance evaluation every year on our marriage. That would be crazy. We've been together for 30 years and have never done that. As we kind of navigate this conversation, your focus on trust is everything. It starts with listening. It starts with understanding the realities of the people you're engaging with. And it starts with entering those relationships, open to hearing what needs to be heard. And the minute we start imposing our expectations, and that's why I started there, expectation versus inspiration. The minute we start imposing our expectations, everything starts to change. Everything starts to become more transactional instead of engaging.
Yeah, and that transactional piece, again, regardless of intention, that when what we're doing becomes transactional in nature, it's not relational, it's not trust built, and it can work. It can work for a while, like
Sure.
When I think of the difference between compliance and commitment within an organization, within a team, between a leader and someone on their team. You can get people to do all sorts of stuff, and via compliance, coercion, whatever, fear. You can get people to do all sorts of things, but will it be sustainable? Will that level of effort, be sustainable, and will it bring forth the type of creativity and innovation and discretionary extra effort that we are wanting to see from our people, right? Or are people going to kind of go into their shell a bit, become self-protective, kind of do the minimum, to make sure that they don't get fired, and to make sure that they're, not being a problem person, but they're not putting themselves out there. They're not trying new things. They're not experimenting because they're afraid of getting shut down. And you're just not going to get the best out of people. You're going to get a compliance culture, not a commitment activation culture, where people are putting forward their discretionary, energies towards a thing that they're excited and passionate about. And that's what we want. And yet it's far too common within organizations and within many, many teams for it to really end up being more fear-based, compliance-based. And I'm not trying to suggest that there's not an importance around compliance to policies, legal requirements, that kind of stuff. Of course, we need to comply with those things. But I'm talking about a mindset, and I'm talking about a fundamental kind of different way of perceiving how we interact with each other. And transactional relationships don't breed the type of commitment and the type of trust and the type of discretionary effort that the inspirational types of relationships foster, right? They just don't.
Correct. What happens in the course of events, and this, a guy named Alfie Kohn wrote a book back in the 80s called Punished by Rewards.
I love that book.
And it's a marvelous read. And what he stated, and based on the research he did, what he learned was that those kinds of external rewards work for a while. But what happens is when you remove the rewards, the work stops. What happens is that when you're moving from the intrinsic inspirational purposes that we bring to the work, when you remove those internally inspirational motives and replace them with external rewards, you're destroying motivation. You're only creating self-interest. I will only do it as long as you give me some of this. And what happens in that dynamic is all the inspiration just goes out the door. And suddenly you got people who no longer use, and I hear this all the time, why can't my employees be critical thinkers? Why can't they see what's going on in the workplace and take initiative and do something about it? Well, that's happening because you probably destroyed it. That's
happening. It's a symptom of bad leadership.
Yeah, you're describing to me what your leadership style is, and that's not a good thing. So what? And leaders don't see this in themselves. They really don't. But until somebody comes along and hits them with a splash of cold water, nothing much is going to change. The leaders have to look at their own inspirational approaches to getting things done. And by the way, that's hard work. That's not as easy as just emitting a fiat and expecting everybody to follow through and get things done. No, if you want people to be critical thinkers, then they have to have the freedom to experiment with ideas, think about new ways of doing things, maybe experimenting a little bit and having a few failures along the way, not quite meeting the metrics because we learned some things along the way. All that has to be okay. If that's not okay, then you're not going to get the motivation. You're going to get compliance, and that's not a good thing.
Yeah. And you mentioned Punished by Rewards. I love that book, and that was I'm a little bit younger than you, I would guess. And I was, in grad school in the early 2000s. And I remember distinctly when I came upon that book and when I read it, and it was transformational for me, to just come to those realizations, that hopefully, it's been around long enough. Hopefully it's getting more embedded into how we understand things, generally speaking. But certainly at the time, it was different than a lot of what I was hearing from other people and in my graduate program and all that kind of stuff. But it resonated so deeply with me. And of course, if anyone hasn't read the book, go read the book. It's awesome. And then think about, like, how does it apply to you, and do you see how it relates to how you experience the world and interact with other people and how you're motivated and those sorts of things. I certainly felt it. And one of the, you referred to it, but one of the things that I think is just a really important lesson from that book is you can take something that someone is super intrinsically motivated by, and you can systematically suck all intrinsic motivation out of that thing. And
yes, you can.
and someone who would have done it of their own volition, their own excitement and energy and passion, they would have done this thing. Now you couldn't get them to do it, even with bribing them with some sort of bonus. You can't get them to do it because you sucked every last ounce of, like, passion out of that thing. And as I look back on my own life, and I can see evidence of those sorts of things, and then I'm like, well, wait a minute. I used to love doing that thing. I shouldn't allow other people to suck that motivation out of it for me. And it's allowed me to kind of rekindle some of the intrinsic motivations that had been removed by others. And again, not intentionally. I don't think anyone's getting up in the morning thinking, how am I going to drain all inspiration and passion and intrinsic motivation out of my team today? Like, nobody thinks that way. Nobody wants to do that. But you end up doing it because of the way you structure things and the way the policies are set up and the way you interact with people and communicate with them and respond to them when they do things, whether it's successful or not, or you allow experimentation culture or whatever. Like, you just end up sucking all of that stuff out of the individual. And it's tragic, like it's just tragic when you have these highly capable people who are excited to work with you, excited to be a part of the team, excited to do great things and innovate and bring value to the market in cool ways. And you literally suck it all out, with like a vacuum. And then you wonder, why are these people apathetic? Why are these people quote unquote lazy? Why are these people psychologically withdrawn? Why are they quiet quitting? All these, whatever term you want to use, you wonder, why is this happening? Why can't I get people to do stuff? And it's whether it's your intention or not, it's because of you. It's because of how you've led them.
That's right. I do a seminar periodically called Dealing with Cynics, Apathetics, and Naysayers. And the people who come to this seminar want the magic bullet to either get rid of these people or somehow magically or through miracles of some type change their attitudes. The answer is you have to change yourself. The entire day is spent on your management style, your leadership approach, your ability to inspire. Some of these folks may have been damaged before you even got there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they're cynical for a reason. They're apathetic for a reason. They're naysayers for a reason. And you need to understand why they are what they are, and then do the things that you're going to have to do that are probably not natural to your style, but you're going to have to start doing those things that get inside of their heads and begin to understand who they are. If you don't do that, you're going to lose them, and maybe they'll sabotage your business if you're not careful. So as we have this conversation, that is the outcome of leadership that is not inspirational. It's leadership by expectation. And yeah, you're going to have cynicism, you're going to have apathy, and you're going to have all of the naysaying and resistance to change. That's not a team. Maybe it is a team, but the team's working against you.
It's not a high-functioning, productive team.
No.
Well, Roger, this has just been a really great conversation. I note the time, and I need to let you go here in a minute. But before we wrap things up, I wanted to give you a chance to share with the audience how they can connect with you, find out more about your work, where they can find your book, and then give us the final word for today.
Yeah, I've got a couple of books out there. Owning the Room, I wrote about 5 years ago, and Lead with Purpose, I wrote about 2 years ago. And they cover the basic methodologies and approaches to how to inspire, how to treat people with respect, how to treat people in a way that's going to cause the engagement you want to create in your workforce. That's important. Engagement produces results. And sometimes those results are incredibly more than you can get through any kind of expectation process. My connections, everything is running through my website, rogergerard.com. And if you go out there, you'll find it. You'll find links to my books. You'll find a lot of my blogs that I've had over time on LinkedIn. You'll find other things, some of my photographies out there. But I want to leave your listeners with one final set of ideas. If you want to create an engaged workforce, here's the quick outline. Quick outline is very simple. Number one, you've got a promise. There are 5 promises. The first promise is, I will listen to you with respect, and I will take your advice seriously. If we disagree, I'll tell you why, but I will listen to you and take you seriously. Number 2, I will help you learn and grow as you practice your professional work. People want to know that the boss is going to help them learn. They want to grow. That's natural to the human creature. We all want to learn and grow. Number 3, I'll help you be wildly successful. How many times do employees hear that today from their bosses? I will help you be wildly successful. Not just competent, not just satisfying, wildly successful. Number 4, I will make sure you're compensated competitively. A lot of HR people and a lot of people in leadership roles don't pay attention to that. They think that if they're at the 50% comp ratio, they're doing good. No, you better be at the 65 to 70% comp ratio because your data is 2 years old. As you think about compensation, understand that it isn't a motivator, but it is a satisfier. And if you're not careful, you'll dissatisfy your people and undermine everything else you're doing. Final promise, I will have your back when things go south. People need to know that their boss is in their corner. They need to know that leadership understands that not everything's going to be perfect. If you keep these 5 promises, you're going to have an engaged workforce. There'll always be issues. There'll always be conflicts. There'll always be problems, but people will treat one another with respect as they go through that stuff, because leadership is basically having their back and helping them be wildly successful. That's the gist of much of what's in my writing and in my work. There are many other things we can talk about, but those 5 promises are central.
I love it. I love it. Roger, thank you so much. It's just been a pleasure. I encourage the audience to reach out, to get connected, find out more about what Roger can do for you. Check out the books, the many great resources. And as always, I hope everyone can stay healthy and safe. They can find meaning and purpose at work each and every day. And I hope you all have a great week. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the podcast. We hope you stay healthy and safe, and please join us again soon.
Security program on spreadsheets, new regulations piling up, and audit dread? It's time for Vanta. Vanta automates security and compliance, brings evidence into one place, and cuts audit prep by 82%. Less manual work, clearer visibility, faster deals, zero chaos. Call it compliance, or call it compliance. Get it? Join the 15,000 companies using Vanta to prove trust. Go to vanta.com/calm.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities, so do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.